my name's Danny again. I'm the creative director here for all of the games and interactive stuff that we make. So we've been making games for about 17 years now, but they started small and have gradually been getting bigger and bigger in ambition and in scale and in excitement. And so for the last 6 years or so, we've been making PC, console and premium mobile games. So, and I realised I'm trying to proof of my 17 years being here is about 20 along and 3 down. So that's it. And Pete.
And so I was co-founder of this whole thing, the company, with a guy called Dave Sproxton. And I was telling today that I got a message on LinkedIn. Now, I never use LinkedIn, this is no good at all, it's a nuisance. But anyway, I got a message, a woman, Emma Hardy, has joined our team. And the message said, welcome Emma Hardy. Emma Hardy's just joined Aardman. You've been at Aardman 48 years and 3 months longer than Emma Hardy. Laura, I've been oh my God. Yeah, but so I've been here for a long time, long time. And anyway, so we came to Bristol in the previous century and moved around a few years. 76. And moved around and gradually got bigger and moved here and we're always fascinated by getting into the games business, but Dave and I knew nothing about it at all, so we had to hire a group of kids, as they then were, to set that up. Was it 17 years?
About 17 years ago I joined, and we kind of so we were brought in kind of looking after their community set up, very early communities forums and websites, and we were brought in to start talking about that and helping manage those. But then you put a load of like technical creative people in a company full of brands and IPs like this for families. I think it was about 6 weeks until we started making our first game, which was really just a guide to slowly push on into trying to make games. So.
And was there a call from, say, the community who enjoys it involved from it to have a game that reflected it, or was it something that you decided?
I guess there was from early days actually, like when we, I can hardly remember, I think it was Chicken Run, which is like the year 2000, somebody did a game, I don't know who did it.
And there was Curse the Were-Rabbit, there was a game alongside that.
Yeah.
So all throughout the 2000s there was that, it was a release alongside, we were in the middle of that time, so a lot of licenses came out there. But they were great games as well. There was Project Zoom is a classic, if anyone's up for playing a PlayStation 2, I think. Yeah, classic. So,
And we'll talk about PlayStation 2 tonight, more than it's been for a while. It's been good to go, it's gone back. So I was thinking about Aardman, it's such a distinctive style and brand. How was that when it was translated, using games as a medium? Right, you just mentioned sort of getting into the game bit. How did you sort of take that style and brand and sort of move it into interactive entertainment?
want to start? Is that right?
I think yes, we should.
So, because I would say if like at the heart of it, there's these things you carry with you with Aardman, like clay and stop motion, and obviously that's what it feels at the forefront of people's mind. But really, in the building, we talk about character and storytelling and world building. That's what it is. It's about building those interesting worlds you want to explore and those characters you want to hang out with. And so that bit translates quite easily, because a lot of games out there are bound by that. And that's where we've always started, that's what still drives us now. But craft does translate over, and we talk about it a lot, about how craft translates over, whether it's to do with the attention and detail but still in a digital mode of what's going on, or whether it is trying to take the experts and the craft that's out there through photogrammetry or photometrics, or just the people in their brains, or I know there's art directors and people here as well from working on the games right now who get the stuff and it's sat on their desk and they're analysing it and playing with it. So craft does come over across as well, but probably the more interesting one, because I think craft and character and story or like many games companies or many companies will talk about that, I think it's very human, and that's the one that's really interesting, trying to translate over human.
There's a simple sort of graphic thing, isn't there? A simple visual thing, which is laughingly simple, which is just the two big bug eyes and the big wide mouth, that people just always associate with us. And that it's reasonably easy, I suppose, to replicate that. But that's just the surface. You know, it's just the surface. And as Dan was saying, comedy, character, performance, those are things we talk about, we care about. Although I am, you know, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the plasticine also, you know, again, properly.
Like you said, it's also it's those intangible, what you say is vibes. A lot of the time now, it's very much capturing that essence of, you know, what it was like to sort of watch it on TV and then
Yeah, you kind of, like people who are fan, if you're taking something, translating it directly rather than creating something new, like Wallace and Gromit, like Chicken Run, then you need to be, what's the word, like honourable? There's a better word for that. You want to be respectful to what the world that's been created from the creators, but also the fact that they're expecting. So yeah, you spend a lot of time trying to create that thing, whatever it might be. So we spend quite a lot of time talking about how people feel when they're in like linear film, but then what is that translation? How do you translate it over directly? You know, what are the mechanics? What's the play? What's the innovation that we're putting into it that makes you feel like you're in the film rather than just we've whacked the film on top of a box standard game mechanic and that's it.
And is there a lot of cross-pollination between teams? So those who work on TV and films and the sort of games team. Is it?
Yeah.
Why is it like the cross-pollination between the two?
It's a lot more than there ever has been. So the whole company got shifted and changed when Pete and Dave sold us the company. Thank you, Dave. Became employee-owned 5 years ago, I think it was. So now 75% of the company is all owned by employees. But at that point as well, there was a restructure. People, new MD came in, and there was lots of discussion about how do we take apart the silos, which were films and TV and games and all of the bits, and rebuild a studio that could like last, at the time it was 40 years, like last another 40 years. The biggest mission, which we're partway through, I can't say we're perfect at it, definitely not perfect at it, is trying to create blurriness between all of these parts and allow team members to move around and feel like, what's the best group of people within the whole of Aardman to do that thing, not, oh, I make this, because it is getting very blurry. The boundaries between filmmaking and game making, that's really what drives us, is this merging and this opportunity that comes across building worlds like this is what drives us.
There are certain areas where I'm very proud to be old-fashioned. One of those is this building itself, the fact, the idea of a permanent building. But the canteen, for God's sake, it's a quaint old, it's an old notion, but it really, really works. And you talk about community, well, we have community. It's so important, that sense of community, and ideally everyone mixes. The building was designed to encourage mixing. Yeah, absolutely. We still find people sit in apartments still, but at least they come here and move close.
Touched on it briefly then about becoming an employee on the team. What was that process like? And as it kind of reframed success?
It was a very interesting process because there is an organisation called the Employee Ownership Association, and we went to their annual general meetings. And the most striking thing for me was that there are so many different ways of doing it. I kind of thought there would be a standard way, but no, I mean, in that, you'd meet 10 different companies, and they all had a slightly different version of it. Anyway, so we did that, and the main reason, the big thing, was to retain independence. That was for me the biggest thing. I was hoping also, as a side effect, that everyone would be able to put a sack of loot in their pockets, but that's not so much actually. I should do, but that's we're profitable. Of course, we're profitable, but trouble is, when we're profitable, we employ more and more people, and then they're all then they
Spread the loot.
spread.
But in films, and everyone always kills each other, so that one person goes away with loot.
Yeah. That'll be a project.
There was a definite cultural change from up. It felt like, and I remember thinking, I bet you maybe a year or two in there'll be this kind of change of, this is our company with responsibility. But it felt more like it was like, on week one, people going, well, this is our company now, so we've definitely got to sort that out. And who's doing that? And we're going to do this. There was a real energy to feel responsibility. In stuff. I think maybe even now it's almost drooped a bit because there's also a weight of democracy. You realise how much effort democracy takes. And everyone's a bit like, I don't want another meeting. I want to do the toilets. It's like, it's fine, sort it out. So yeah.
That was exactly what I was just going to ask, was how are decisions made?
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, it's fundamentally fundamentally just operates the same way, I would say. Like you have to, you have a board and people's responsibility, but there's much more engagement. But we're not a co-op. We don't discuss every issue in the town square mercifully.
I used democracy as an example of the, but actually we don't really run much democratically. We run a lot of it collaboratively. So we still spend a lot of time bringing people with and explaining and being very open and transparent. But in the end, there has to be decisive.
I highly recommend it, by the way. If anyone's in the position to, starting up, because it's funny. Dave and I, my partner Dave Scotch and I, we started up, hoping to have some money at the end of the month, and that was the plan A, and then we just kept going, and I didn't think about it, and didn't think about ownership. That wasn't important. But in retrospect, we could have set up much earlier. When we employed the first person, we could have set up then, but nobody was talking about employee ownership then, so we didn't know. But now, it's a great idea.
And then sort of thinking about your place in the wider sort of Bristol community. What is it like in the past?
Yeah, it's lovely. This is not your point. By the way, I am a freeman of the city. So when it comes to driving herds of sheep around, I'm but no, actually, seriously though, there's in animation. I don't know about the games. I'm sorry, I really don't. But you do the game. But in animation, there's a group in Bristol called BAM, Bristol Animation Mashup or something, and they meet every 2 or 3 times a year, not very often, and that's full of mostly the indie people, and they get together. And there aren't many Aardman people there, and that kind of saddens me. Actually, I wish we felt part of. I wish we all felt more part of the same people, because there's so many of us that we tend to feel like a community in itself, I guess.
You stayed in Bristol, didn't you? Because I assume there'd been many offers to leave Bristol.
Yes. People said we were mad. But there wasn't an animation business in Bristol at all when we started. There were 4 people, I think, in Bristol.
You and David too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the games industry in Bristol it's kind of been here forever, but at the same time, I think it's the Bristol thing more. It's like there's all these amazingly wonderful, creative, exciting people, but then just don't tell anyone what they're doing. And they're sat in their own little places, and it's almost like I find like in Bristol, it's like as soon as something becomes like mainstream, and you're like, well, that's not cool anymore. It's almost like it's built into our culture to avoid promotion and kind of getting out there. But it's just it's jam-packed full of creative, technological people, and I think that opportunity that games has, and I think it still even more so has. I think the potential of Bristol and the growth of games in Bristol is just, I feel like just is going to keep going. Very exciting.
Previously I said about cross-pollination between the teams in the organisation, but is there such a cross-pollination between like the animators, film, games outside the organisation, sort of like events and things like that, which is about creative industries as a whole?
Aardman kind of crossing over together outside, or us crossing over with the outside world?
With sort of just general creatives, sort of big come from different disciplines, is there a vibe that they will meet outside of work and sort of join up, like they might feel like they're from different worlds because one's working on games, one's working on film or animation, but they can get together in that respect.
Yes. I think we've still got a few more
I
questions.
mean,
Yes, I think,
it's kind of my answer is actually not enough, really. But individuals, of course, have their interests, and everyone's got their circle, of course, and so there are loads of overlapping circles in film, music, animation, games, all those things.
places like the watersheds and the Face Media Studios, so like spaces, again, physical buildings that are pretty like bound, which have created such, and I know the watersheds have got so much effort since the 80s into creating it, it's such a gravitational pool of different kinds of people that you do get those melting pots in certain places. And there's a great story of, Dave went over to the watersheds to watch the first Star Wars trailer on the broadband, because there was a new broadband network that had only been put into like 3 or 4 places, and he was so amazed that he realised that was going to be the future, and then pulled the rights on Angry Kid from Channel 4. That's the story he told.
Okay.
Yeah, and said because they wanted the internet rights, and they were like no, and that's a deal breaker, and so we ended up releasing it on Atom Film. So it's kind of an example of like how those interconnections have crossed over.
And finally, got a final question from me before I bring to the audience is, what is the future for Aardman?
Well, we were talking about it this very afternoon. It was a great day. We were actually. It was really nice. It was exciting. It was very exciting.
We didn't
loads more.
Yeah, we didn't have a defined answer.
No, what can you say? What can you say? Loads of new stuff, whilst keeping the classics going, because there's a huge enthusiasm for the classics. So Shaun the Sheep and Monsters and Comics. You people, so much. I'm such a believer in all the best things in Aardman, for me, an awful lot of the best things in Aardman come from individuals. It's just people that have the vision, and that's fantastic when you find it, cling on to it, and I think we're good at doing that.
On a shorter, kind of not the next 30 years or 40 years, we have our Chicken Run 2 game coming out at a little plug end of the year, so that's very exciting. It will be our kind of first full in-house game development. So that's what we're building after that. Is the exciting stuff.
Shooting Wallace and Gromit film now at the other studio.
Any other Where Are We? Project Significant, I love that one. It's like my favorite.
No, there aren't. No, there aren't. No.
I was hoping for a second one at some point.
Okay.
It's like literally my favorite.
It's a brilliant.
It's a good story.
It's a brilliant film, and Nick Park pitched it to us. And honestly, a vegetarian were creature. Oh, it's great. It's brilliant, and Wallace hunting himself. Brilliant.
I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
If I say Aardman, I usually say Where Are We?
It won the BAFTA in its year for the best British film. Well, which is fantastic because normally we're the best animation or something, but the best British film, which it was.
Has any sort of fresh IP come from the gaming side? I guess a lot of it's natural from TV and film, where it's good something, but if it hasn't, maybe it hasn't. We're expecting one day that maybe a brand new IP will launch on the gaming side.
The way we're talking and the way we're driving the chain with all that sort of murkiness and how it's going, is an attempt to try and think about characters and worlds first, and then find the best platforms in which to build them. And we spent a long time. Unfortunately, it came to an unfortunate end and didn't get greenlit. We spent a long time building exactly what you're kind of talking about. You know, it was like, what would an IP be if you can use all of Aardman simultaneously in the best way, which was game-led, and then we're going to film the series in the game engine and various other things around that.
That was a great project.
That was a great project.
Yeah. The world needs it still.
Yeah, still.
Big hit.
Yeah. So it depends on these publishers. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Do you find that with the IPs you're working with, there's a bit of an expectation that you have to work around? Because if you said to me a short and sheep game, what I imagine in my head is a whole lot of very short-term arcade-style games that get old quite quick.
Yeah.
So is that something you have to deal with and,
Yeah, I
and
think-
brand around?
I think there's two things that we fight against in that conversation. One of them is the general baggage that linear TV translations can come with, where people are still suspicious, and I blame like from 2000 to 2010 on that, and so that is a bit frustrating. And the other one is family and kids in particular, and how that translates. I still don't understand it, because I hear this sometimes from publishers where they talk about like kids games as if it's a separate lower quality category.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen a kid playing a game, it's like they are probably the most dedicated, usually the best players that are in the room. And so this idea that they want something less sophisticated and less quality is like, feels opposite. And so yes, we do fight with that, and but a lot of the time people do, you know, it's usually, it doesn't take too much to get past that with publishers, and I think the world's changing. It feels like that kind of lack of trust is shifting a bit, and I also think the risk-averse nature, the way the world is kind of going towards, means IPs are gaining value again. So hopefully less as years go on.
Any more questions? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.